Story 1. I, 32 male, was married to my ex-wife Jane, 30 for 5 years. Our marriage ended after I discovered she'd been cheating on me for about a year with multiple men. She got pregnant and confessed that she didn't know if the baby was mine or her affair partner's. A couple of months after the divorce, I tried to reach out to her to see if the baby was mine but couldn't, and I learned through a friend she and her new partner had left the country. That was 2 years ago, and I thought that was that. Recently, Jane reached out to my mother claiming that her kid is mine and needs financial help. Jane told my mother that her partner left her when he found out the kid wasn't his. Now, for context, my mother has been desperate for grandkids, especially since my older brother is gay and child-free, and I've been single since the divorce. She's been relentless in pressuring me to help out Jane. However, I have my doubts given her infidelity. I find it hard to trust her claims without concrete evidence. So I've insisted on a paternity test before committing to any financial or emotional support. If the child is mine, I'll gladly step up and fulfill my responsibilities as a father, but I refuse to do so without proper legal documentation. My mother and Jane are both vehemently against the idea of involving lawyers or going through the legal process. They insist that the child is mine based on similar resemblances like having blue eyes, which I have, but Jane also has blue eyes. This issue came to a head when my mother posted a picture of her and the kid titled my grandson on Facebook. Now family members and some friends know about this issue and are contacting me. When I tell them I don't know if the kid is mine and I want to do a paternity test, they call me selfish and irresponsible. My family members say my mother will only say that because she's sure that the kid is mine. My friends say I'm an idiot for punishing the kid for what my ex-wife did. There is a chance the kid is mine, but I can't shake off my doubts, and I refuse to be manipulated into a situation where I might end up responsible for a child who may not be mine. I'm willing to do what's right, but need certainty first. But it's driving me crazy, with so many people close to me saying I should just take responsibility. My older brother is the only one on my side, and he thinks it's because my mother has accepted the kids that others are willing to accept it too, and because of family bonds, which are major things here. However, I'm standing firm on my decision to do a paternity test. Am I the idiot for refusing to accept my child? Not the idiot, DNA test or nothing, and make sure the results are sent to you directly. I've read many cases of results being fabricated. It's crazy to think you just step in and take over a parental role based on your lying ex-wife's claim, especially the fact that the ex is only reaching out because she needs financial support after the affair partner ran away. She likely already did a paternity test once, which is how the affair partner found out the kid isn't his. She can do another. Continue to stand firm with your decision, Opie. Don't be played for a fool. Yup. You'd be an idiot not to test the DNA of your cheating ex's kid that she suddenly says is yours 2 years later when having money trouble. Please don't believe a word she says until it's proven. Also, your mother is the idiot here for posting that you have a kid before you have proof and are ready. Even if the kid is yours, that's not right of her to do, and you need to find a way to make that clear to her. That is not her place at all. Let grandma provide the financial support if she's so eager. It's still not your problem. It's also very possible the kid is the affair partner's, and they just broke up because she cheated on him too or whatever the reason. Maybe he's paying child support already. Or maybe it's not the affair partner's, but she was also sleeping with 5 other guys at the time of conception. Maybe she saw that your mother was going to push you and figured she'd have an easy shot at doubling down on child support as long as no lawyers or paternity tests are involved. Your mother is blinded by her obsession with having grandkids. You're not being selfish, you're being responsible. Protect yourself and get the test done. I am from Galicia, a region in Spain that speaks a language very similar to Portuguese. My girlfriend is from Barcelona, which is in Catalonia. She speaks Catalan. We live in Madrid and study here at the university. Everyone in Spain speaks Spanish, except for foreigners, on a native level from education, media, and exposure. There's no such thing as a Spaniard who only speaks Basque, Catalan, or whatever, unless they're 90+ years old from some small village, And even then they would still know the basics of Castilian Spanish. I know I'm gonna get some comments about this. Okay, so here's the conflict. People from Catalonia are often very nationalistic, and will sometimes refuse to speak Castilian. When I was in Valencia and someone said, "Speak properly, speak Valencian," a dialect of Catalan, when I asked her for directions in Castilian Spanish. My girlfriend invited me over to her parents' house in Barcelona. They talked among themselves for a bit in Catalan. I understood maybe a half or 2/3 of it. They greet me in Catalan, and I say in Castilian that I don't speak Catalan, I'm from Galicia. They said something in Catalan to each other which I think was negative. We eat dinner. Her sisters and their husbands are there and discuss things in Castilian. They often say things to each other in Catalan, which I thought was rude, but I let it go. They kept switching to Catalan during our conversation, and I politely reminded them 5 times that I don't speak Catalan. They would go back to Castilian, but then switch back to Catalan. I go outside to take a breath of fresh air. My girlfriend joined me, and I asked her what the heck her family's problem was, and why they kept excluding me from the conversation. She said they hate speaking Castilian. I told her that's bullshit. I heard her dad speaking Castilian to someone in Peru during his Zoom meeting. He took a 30-minute Zoom call while I was there and the mom was preparing food, and he never switched to Catalan. We joined back, and they just responded back in Catalan, and responded to each other's responses to that in Catalan, and I just had enough and said, I'm leaving now. The food was good, but I just can't stand the rudeness. I told you so many times I do not speak Catalan. I don't feel welcome, so I'm going. Goodbye. And the father says, how damn rude. We prepared such a good meal for you, and you're leaving it unfinished. We spent hours on this. They made an entire goose and like 5 side dishes. I said, I told you I don't speak Catalan. Why should I be here when you can't even respect me enough to speak in a common language? I never spoke to you in Galician, Portuguese, English, or Romanian. Screw you idiots. I grabbed my stuff and left. I had 15 missed calls from my girlfriend last night, and I stayed at a friend's parents' home nearby. We haven't talked in a day, and I don't know what to do now. Everyone's the idiot here. It sounds like your girlfriend didn't stand up for you, even after you politely reminded her family multiple times that you don't speak that language. You even spoke to her about this, and she still did nothing. She put you in a very awkward and uncomfortable position. She could have stood up for you and told her family to knock it off. Your outburst was unbecoming of you. Just because they were rude didn't mean you had to be even ruder. Making a scene and stomping off like that wasn't the best option, and 2 wrongs don't make a right. You should have taken the high road, or at least calmly mentioned in leaving that you were frustrated by them purposely speaking to you in a language you don't speak. Screw the high road. Stand up for yourself. Op's not the idiot. They were just flat out rude. Deliberately so. Out of some parochial pride, they switch in the middle of a conversation with you to the local language they know you don't speak, rather than speaking the common tongue they know everyone present can speak and understand. You don't get to give someone the finger repeatedly, and then get all offended when they aren't willing to put up with it anymore. Pal, you can stand up for yourself without cursing your future in-laws the first time you see them. OP, you are the idiot. I think you can refer to her as your ex-girlfriend. Let her find a Catalan boyfriend. Better for everyone. Responding to rudeness with more rudeness does not make you right. You went way over the top with your anger. You need to work on your anger issues. If you can't leave an argument without losing your temper and insulting people, this will negatively impact your whole career. My dad owned 170 acres where he and my mom built my childhood home. 25 years ago, I was divorcing my toxic ex-husband and Dad gave me 60 acres of land. They moved my young children and me to my childhood home to live with them while they built my future house beside them. 5 years later, I asked my dad to set a price and allow me to pay him back. I did at a price Dad sat below the land and house value, but at a price I could afford as a single mother. I purchased the land legally. I have the deed to the land in my name only. I've lived beside my parents for 24 years now. I have 2 sisters who live hours away. Both of my parents have recently died. Dad's trust states that every asset be divided equally between his 3 daughters. As for the land, they will each receive 1/3 of Dad's 110 acres. Hours after Dad's funeral, my 2 sisters confronted me, stating that his trust was unfair to them. They stated that I already have 60 acres, and if I get 1/3 of Dad's 110 acres, about 35 acres, I will have a total of 95 acres, and they will each only have about 35 acres. They believed that if I gave them my 1/3 share, I would have my 60 acres, and they would each get 55 acres, it would be fair. Through the years, Dad had 2 opportunities to change his will and trust after I purchased the land and house, and he didn't. Additionally, my sisters never discussed their feelings with Dad. 2 days later, in texts, one of my sisters apologized twice for her behavior. The other sister hasn't apologized, spoken, called, or texted. I've made the decision not to give them my share of the inheritance. I won't even consider it. My decision to keep my share of my inherited land has cost me a relationship with my sisters. Yet I've done nothing wrong. I didn't initiate this. I've been told I'm wrong. I'm being treated as if this is my fault. I'm being treated as if I'm the idiot. Why do I feel like I am the idiot? Edit, I told them I owned it and had a deed. They didn't ask to see the deed. Instead, they searched the courthouse 3 days before the funeral. Not the idiot, your sisters are entitled brats. You bought and paid for your share fair and square. They had their chance to talk to Dad about it, and they didn't. Now they want to guilt trip you into giving up what's rightfully yours. Don't let them bully you. Keep your inheritance and tell them to shove it. Exactly. By the way, Opai's decision to keep the land did not cost her a relationship with her sisters. Her sisters' greed and unwillingness to accept the wishes of her deceased parents is what ruined their relationship. Honey, stand your ground, pun intended, and take the 1/3 of the 110 acres. Your sisters are greedy and trying to guilt trip you into giving them land that should be yours. You bought and paid for the land you live on. It's yours, not part of the inheritance. If your dad wanted to divide his land for just your sisters, he would have written a will that reflected that. Good riddance. You'll be better off without your sisters. I, 31 female, am a manager for a big tech company. My husband is an internal medicine specialist. I make over $200,000 a year, and he recently started making his full salary around $400,000. We had our first child around 2 years ago, and I'm pregnant with our second. My family is pretty open-minded about it, but my husband's family is old-fashioned, and since we're Japanese, there's a consensus from them that women who are married with children shouldn't be working. My husband is fortunate, he has fewer loans than other doctors, just over $130,000, but that's because his family paid a lot of it off already. So I've been getting hints from them that I should be a stay-at-home mom and leave the money making to my husband. I don't want to leave my job, and my company is relatively understanding. I got 6 months off, 3 months with full pay and 3 months without, for my first child, and could keep my current position. The male members of my team are also able to take paternity leave, so I don't see why I have to leave my job. I also paid most of the bills while my husband wasn't making much as a resident. My aunt was a stay-at-home mom, and to supplement her income in retirement, she babysat my son. She will also look after my youngest child when my maternity leave ends. I've also been guilted by other moms, especially my husband's co-workers' wives, since most of them who are not doctors become stay-at-home moms. But I don't see why I need to. My husband and I outsource all of our cleaning, grocery delivery, lawn maintenance, etc. So all we do is cook. So almost all of our time at home is spent together as a family. And apart from the rare occasion we both work 9 or 10 hours a day, with me working a bit less as I don't have a commute. Even then we still save much more than if I were a stay-at-home mom. But my mother-in-law has commented that it's not right to outsource these things because a mother shows her love by cleaning after her kids and husband. My mother-in-law recently came over, and while eating dinner she said the food was great and complimented me. I said my husband made the food, he finished work early, and I was in a meeting with a customer, and she was shocked and said it wasn't right that my husband had to do any work after his long shift. I got annoyed and said that I was working longer than him today, and she said, "Well, then you should quit so you don't need to." I got mad and told her I saved over $12,000 a month after paying to outsource work I didn't have an interest in doing anyway. With that money, we can send our children to top schools and have undergrad and probably grad school paid for. So it's ridiculous to expect me to quit just because she has old-fashioned ideas that women need to be on their knees scrubbing away. My mother-in-law was offended, but my husband told her it's already settled, and I'm going to still be working. But everyone always telling me I'm a bad mom if I don't quit my job has worn me down. Am I the idiot for telling my mother-in-law I make too much to be a stay-at-home mom? Not the idiot for shutting her down. However, it's more effective to cut it off at the root. Husband and I are perfectly capable of making the best choices for us and our kid, thanks, rather than answer her butting in a way that doesn't necessarily make sense. If someone earns $200,000 and wants to be a stay-at-home mom, more power to them. It's about the right choices for the individuals involved, not specific careers or incomes. I don't need to know what you make or how much you save under various scenarios. All I need to know is that you and your husband agree and your family is thriving. I think you're correct, but it does sound like mother-in-law has been pressing the issue and won't stop attempting to interfere and control another woman. It just sounds like mother-in-law refuses to respect them and take a hint. Girl, go get that money, but consider both sides. In a few years, will you regret not staying at home with your older kids, or will you regret having quit your job and giving in to the pressures around you? Do what you want to do. I always hate when people say that you'll regret not spending time because I feel it's most often directed at moms. She's working very normal hours and hours similar to her husband's. Yet they don't question if the dad spend enough time with the kids or show affection towards the child by cooking and cleaning. Mother-in-law saying Op needs to do these things to show affection and love makes me question if she was one of those types of parents and doesn't know there are other ways to love your children. Story 2. I'm a 26-year-old female and my boyfriend is 30. We've been dating for 3 years but just moved in together 6 months ago. I've felt crazy busy since moving in together. I work outside of the house, commute for an hour a day, and go to school part-time to try to get a better job, so my schedule is already packed. But since moving in together, it feels like my time spent doing chores has almost doubled. I talked with my boyfriend about this, hoping we could come up with a reasonable chore schedule, but he's adamant that he's doing as much as he can. Something else I've noticed since we moved in together is that he takes a nap from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. daily. He otherwise sleeps through the night, usually from 1 a.m. to 10 a.m., but that afternoon nap is like clockwork. I told him that he gets 14 or 15 hours of sleep every day, and that he can start making more time to help around the house by shortening that nap. I don't even think that amount of sleep is healthy, but he insists it's a necessary part of his day, and that I'm crossing a boundary by suggesting that he not nap. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. He's getting nearly double the recommended amount of sleep the average adult needs daily. If he literally cannot function without that much sleep, he's asleep for more hours than he's awake. It's time he visited a sleep clinic. Does he even have a job that works around that sleeping schedule? He's the idiot for being selfish with his time and not taking an equal share of the household chores. And stop doing so many chores, they will add up, and he will have to notice. Painful for you, but worth it. How's he gonna take notice if he's never awake? Elmow. On a serious note, oversleeping is associated with many health problems like type 2 diabetes, heart disease, obesity, depression, etc. This is what I don't get. When he's working, if he gets up at 10 a.m. and then naps at 4 p.m., that's 6 hours assuming he works the entire time. And when the heck did they spend time together? From 8 to 10 p.m. each night. And how did Op not know these things before moving in together? Didn't Op ever notice that her boyfriend wasn't doing anything before 10 a.m. or from 4 p.m. to 8 p.m.? Nobody needs that much sleep outside of having a diagnosed medical condition. If he requires 15 hours of sleep a day, you will assume the role of his caretaker if you stay with him. Sleeping that much simply does not allow him the time to handle a fair share of the household responsibilities and have a career. I think you are the idiot yourself if you don't seriously consider whether you want to sign up to be this man's caretaker before continuing this relationship. Also, your boyfriend doesn't understand what a boundary is. Thanks for listening.